Hello Mandela, welcome to your AutoCAD Basics Web number 3. We got a throwing star this time, I believe, if memory serves, that we're going to be putting together in Autodesk or AutoCAD Web. So I'm just going to kick over to my screen here. We're going to show you what we're actually going to create. So let's analyze this drawing a little bit. So we can see that we've got this object in the middle of the screen. We can see that we've got some circles that we already know how to do. We've got a bunch of circles cut out here. They're trimmed. We can see that they are at midpoints and endpoints. Some random angles. We're going to have to use some polar coordinates. And when we go to the new tools section here, we realize that we're going to use the rotate or polar array command. I'm going to show you how to use both and also how to draw the hidden line type, which is this green little triangle that's at the top here. Everything else you pretty much know how to do, and so let's get started on this. Alright, here we are in AutoCAD Web. We are going to go to our demo drawing folder. Do I have this? Yeah, let's do this one. Okay, we're in a new drawing, and in this drawing we're going to call it CAD Basics Web 03. And again, the units don't matter for these initial assignments, not that important. We're going to set up what we usually set up here, where we go down to our properties, turn our dimensions to standard, we turn our text style to standard, and our multi-leaders to standard. I'm going to go to layers, make 2 new layers. Again, the draw and the dimensioning phase are, I guess, layer are the ones that we're going to be working with this fine day. I like those colors. Problem is solved. We're going to go to our drawing layer. We're going to start with our rectangle on the outside. We're going to go from 0, 0 to 10, tab 7, which is going to give us a little tiny little rectangle. Let's zoom in manually here with the scroll wheel. And we are good to go. Okay, confirm our work. Make sure that we did what we were supposed to. Do we got it? Do we got it? Do we got it? We have 10. Nice. And we have... let's try this again. I believe we have 7 going this way. Now, a couple things we need to know about this drawing before we start. And maybe where we just want to start. Okay, we can clearly see on this drawing that all branches in the drawing are symmetrical. The object is centered in the frame, and that's important because we're going to draw these circles on the outside here first. And then we're going to get to work on the branches in that order. So we're going to start in our draw layer with some circles. Circles are at geometric center, so make sure geometric center snap is on. And you'll notice that one of them has a radius of 0.5. No, yeah, it does. One has a radius of 0.5 and one has a radius of 1. Don't worry, there's a diameter sign in there somewhere. Let's zoom in on this top branch because we're going to draw it first. And the way to draw it is relatively simple. We're going to take our line tool, we're going to drag it straight up, and by my measurement on this one, it's going to be 3 units tall. We're then going to drag it down at a it says 48-degree angle, but it's actually going to be 42 degrees to horizontal, so to right on the clock, I guess 3 o'clock on the clock, and this one, according to this drawing, is going to be 1 unit long. Now this is where this gets important. I'm going to finish this triangle to actually complete the first part of this, the first branch of this throwing star, and I'm not going to delete anything yet. I'm going to do all of my trimming at the end. The reason for that is that the circles that are on this actually snap to the midpoints. And it's important to note that because they snap to the midpoints in such a way that there's a little bit of overlap down here on the main circle. And so if you trim too early, you're going to end up with things that don't quite work on this drawing. They don't quite do what they're supposed to. And don't worry, it was designed in such a way that I could see those relatively quickly. I just typed that radius in wrong. I just realized. I'm going to go to my properties and confirm. But yeah, it has a radius of 0.22 according to the drawing, which is super neat. I'm just going to copy this over because the next one also has a radius of 0.22. So I'm just going to make a copy of a new one, just like we would have done in the previous assignment with the little boxes on the corner of your drawing. Now from here I've got the star branch kind of where I want it to. So now it's time to do some trimming. So I'm going to type in trim and I'm going to press enter. And I'm going to cut away some of the parts that I really don't need on this one. And that's going to be all of these inside pieces, and then of note it's also going to be down here this piece, this piece, this piece, and the main part of our vertical branch. Now this one I'm not going to actually trim, the bottom one, because eventually you're going to get to a point where you have a line that doesn't actually cross anything. You can't trim those, so we're just going to delete it. There's our first branch. It's very nice. We got the top of our drawing, and it's going to get us started here. Okay, I'm going to use a select here. Make sure I select all the pieces of it. Ooh, I'm going to use a blue select. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to type in group. Now, group is a cool function. It actually lets us turn a bunch of different lines into a single object. To undo it, we can either ungroup. We can also use the explode command in most CAD softwares. Now, we're pretty close here. Believe it or not, we've done most of the work for this drawing, and that being said, we still need to have 5 copies of this, okay? This is the first copy, we need 4 more. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show you both of them. The first is called the rotate command. Okay, and the rotate command is going to ask us to specify a base point. We're going to use the center of the circle for this. And you're going to see that's going to let us spin this around, all right? And I'm just going to play around with one piece here. At the bottom, it had an option for specifying a reference angle. I'm going to specify the reference angle of 72 because that's what's on the drawing. And that should allow me to snap. No, it's not going to let me snap. Specify the new angle. It's going to be 72. Okay. No, seems to have worked it across the reference angle. I apologize. Rotate. Let's try this one more time. Okay, we specify our base point here. And we rotate it around, and I'm going to specify the rotation angle at 72 degrees because that's what's on there. Okay, and it moves over here. Now, unfortunately, it didn't make a copy of it, which is kind of what we wanted. So we're going to try a different command that's going to work even better for this one. Okay, you could make a copy and then rotate it. That's easy enough to do, or you could use an array. Now, an array is any time that you're going to do something that uses multiple copies of something. We really have 3 kinds of arrays in AutoCAD. We have path arrays, which are when you have a line, an array will copy an object across that line. This is really useful. Let's say you're drawing houses in civil engineering, and you have to go and put a bunch of houses along a curved street, and all the houses look kind of the same way. That's a really good way of doing that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with that and using that for that one. That being said, the other kind of array we can use is a rectangular array, and this one's going to go ahead and put all of your objects into a grid, columns and rows. Very useful in many cases. Actually, in the next assignment, you are going to, no, not in the next assignment. In the desktop version, you actually use that one. We don't use it here. Anyways, we're going to go to array, and when we type in array in our command bar at the bottom here, we're actually given 3 options: rectangular, path, and the one we're going to use today, which is polar. And I didn't talk about that one, but polar is actually the one where it's going to array things around a circle. So the first thing it asks for is the center point of the array. In that case, this is the center of the circle. Life is good. Now, it by default gives us 6 arms on this, but in our actual drawing, we want 5. So we're actually going to go down and we're going to actually change the number of items by clicking on items at the bottom here. And we're going to tell it to do actually 5 arms. And what you're going to see is it's going to rotate itself back into doing 5 arms here. Now, at that point, it's a matter of just trimming off some of the extra pieces here, just like we would have in past drawings with trim. There we go. Ooh, I thought I had it. And this is going to give us a mostly, if not completely finished drawing. Now, I'm not going to dimension this. I'm going to leave that to you because you do have the skills to do that at this point. But I do want to throw one more thing at you because what we have now is a working throwing star, according to this picture here, which again you find in the lab under the stairs. And all the dimensions here are relatively straightforward, except for one. And that's that green line, this little green triangle here that's shown as a reference triangle to show that this is drawn as a solid object. So we're going to actually draw this one using what's called a hidden line type. Now, right now we've got 2 layers. We've got draw and dimensioning, and we're actually going to add a 3rd layer to this. We're going to call it hidden. Okay. Now, hidden in most drawings is going to denote if you're drawing a solid object and there's something inside of it that the person needs to know about. A hole through it, slot, gouge, whatever. I'm going to make it green just like in the drawings, and then I'm going to go to this layer, and I'm going to go down to my line type underneath it here. And in the line type, you're going to see that you have a lot of options here. Okay. A few that might be worthwhile looking at are, there is a dash dot, there is a center line here. So for example, you were drawing center marks, you could absolutely use that as a center mark. But the one that we care about right now is hidden. So we're going to select hidden, and then we're going to draw a new line. And what you're going to see when you draw the line in the hidden layer is it's going to come out as a dashed line, not a solid line. And for us, that's exactly what we're looking for, because we want to actually put this triangle over top of this to make sure that we can show that, yeah, it's not a solid line, it's hidden. Okay, and in this case, it's just a reference line, but not quite the usual application. With that being said, you should be able to dimension the rest of this relatively easily. The rest of this is really easy. When you're actually dimensioning the drawing, I do ask that you put the name of the project somewhere on the drawing. You put all of the dimensions exactly as they are on the drawing. You do not have to worry about this block of text off on the right. That's all good, and that should get you through AutoCAD Web Basics number 3. Cheers and happy CADing.